Hey, what's up? It's Jeremy. I'm chilling here. I'm about to be devoured by this giant white light. I mean, look at this shit. It's fucking crazy. Today, I'm going to be looking at one of the greatest films in the history of cinema, arguably of all time. And that is, of course, the 2009 animated DreamWorks film, Monsters vs. Aliens. Now, this is a film that I find is often overlooked, but I would argue that it's right up there with Gone with the Wind, Casablanca, and dare I say, the Emoji Movie. Oddly enough, this film was actually produced by the same studio that created Shrek and the Shrek franchise. I like to think that Monsters vs. Aliens is sort of like Leonardo da Vinci's The Last Supper. Not quite as famous or well known as the Mona Lisa, but certainly his best work. Now, the scene that I'm going to be analyzing in particular is an extremely iconic scene. You'll recognize right away. It is, of course, the first contact scene where the President of the United States approaches the alien spaceship for the first time. This was one of the most powerful moments I've ever witnessed in a film. And so I really wanted to just break down why it works. I'll go through it frame by frame. So grab some popcorn, grab some, I've got Ritz Bits sandwiches here as my little movie night snack. But you know, anything works. And let's just jump right into it without further ado. So we open up with this wide shot of the helicopter over the tanks. Newscaster.
No one knows what it is or where it came from. All branches of the military were immediately mobilized. What does that
So
mean?
there's stuff going on. We don't know what it is, but obviously it's serious.
That the President of the United States has arrived and will attempt to make first contact.
Okay, so this shot right here is absolutely brilliant. And so you see they're all in the turtle position here because we don't actually get to see the president. There's a lot of mystery surrounding his character at this point. You know, they're all wearing sunglasses, the black ties and suits. It's all very mysterious. They're dead center in the frame. Nice use of symmetry there. And
Has arrived
they approach.
And will attempt to make first
Boom.
contact.
Reveal. So the president is the last person to be revealed, and as soon as he's there, he's right front and center, right in the middle of the camera. Excellent framing there. All his Secret Service agents around him and the two helicopters. I just love the symmetry of this shot here. Also, the character design of the president is brilliant in and of itself. The sort of bowling pin shape of his head is quite evocative of who he is as a person. Notice how all of the Secret Service agents have these big pronounced chins, whereas the president actually has a small kind of double chin going on here. And that alone is a testament to how animation and character design can show us who a character is just by their physical features.
Approach it alone. This is all about peaceful communication.
Oh, excellent dialogue. Brilliant irony there as these two helicopters break out their guns as soon as he finishes that sentence. I mean, you just can't write this stuff.
Yes, sir, Mr. President.
So you see here we get the panning up of the camera to slowly reveal the spaceship, and that low angle is really effective in displaying it as something to be feared. It has high status in this situation. I love the way that the eyeball zooms in there. It really feels like it's zeroing in on the president, like, you know, it sees him right there, right in the center. Now, I just want to point out this, you can really see exactly how he's feeling just by those facial expressions, those subtle shifts in the character model's face. It really is a testament to how far we've come with animation in the 21st century, and this is only 2009. But honestly, I still don't feel like modern animation has topped this. This is the best we've gotten. So you see that now we're looking at it from a higher angle, which shows the president as having low status. Another piece of irony there, as he is the highest ranking human on the planet, but to these aliens, he is nothing but a puny ant, essentially. See him straightening his tie there, brushing off his suit. You know, this is a man of stature. He cares. He cares about his appearance. Ugh, I just love this shot. It is absolutely beautifully framed. Excellent use of the rule of thirds there. You got the eyeball up here and then the president down here. These two adversaries meeting for the first time. The sunset has a gorgeous color palette, and you know, you've got all the army soldiers down here watching the scene unfold. That staircase could be seen as a metaphor for the journey that lies ahead of us as a human species. The president is only the first man to take this journey, but he is climbing this staircase, approaching this potentially omniscient being. Really just quite a striking image.
Oh, looks
One of
like
the
an
great
ad.
challenges in this world is knowing enough about a subject to think you're right, but not enough about the subject to know you're wrong.
But that's just an ad.
Perimeter stable. Got a beat on Papa Bear. All clear.
Now, the visual gags in this movie are absolutely brilliant. I mean, not only is he climbing this giant staircase, which is a striking visual metaphor on its own, but the idea that he has run a marathon to get here. He has clawed and scratched his way to the top of planet Earth, and now he's taking that first step, approaching life outside of our planet. And so the metaphor of the cup really demonstrates that comparison to a marathon. That's also just a brilliant shot. So many good shots in this scene. I mean, it's practically chock full of them. What can I say? I'll start sounding redundant if I point it out every time, but I mean, just look at that framing. The way he's positioned right there in the middle of the eye. Just gorgeous. And the low angle, again, paints the aliens in a high status light. The American flags were a nice touch. I mean, I'm Canadian myself, but I appreciate good patriotism, and that there is just top-notch. More beautiful framing. Now, the cracking of the knuckles there, it makes you think, even subconsciously, it gets the gears turning about who is this man? What has he been through? What have those hands done in their past? Now, I can't ignore that this film has excellent comedic timing, and this scene certainly delivers in that aspect as well, as you'll see. So that is, of course, a reference to Steven Spielberg's classic Close Encounters of the Third Kind. And what I love about that gag is that not only is it funny, because the president messes up the little tune there, but it is really a commentary on how American society is so consumed by pop culture that even the President of the United States would see a giant alien spaceship, and that is what he plays. He plays the freaking Close Encounters ditty. If you were in this situation, what would you do? Another pop culture reference there, the Live Long and Prosper from Star Trek. And here we go. I'm just gonna let this bit play. Okay, so, I mean, I just had to let that one play on its own. But I'll break it down shot by shot. Obviously, the Crazy Frog tune is an absolute banger. And, you know, the creators of this film knew that that would grab audiences' attention. And the fact that the president would, again, choose to use the Crazy Frog jingle as a way to communicate with this being. What does that say about us as a species? We communicate through art, through music. And given that this came out in 2009, Crazy Frog was huge at the time. So it makes perfect sense that that is what Mr. President would turn to in this time of need. They're all waiting, listening. You know, it's you can feel the palpable tension in the air. And then the president cuts through it with this amazing song. So we get this panning shot here, panning around the keyboard, really cinematic, really gives a sense of 3 dimensions. And it also shows us all of these tanks in the background behind the president, which reinforces the sense that he's not alone. You know, he might have gone up here alone and taken the first steps in communication, but he has backup. You know, the whole world is behind this one man. It's really powerful stuff. Just look at those hips move, and then the sudden juxtaposition cutting to the feet. He's got moves. You know, the army is baffled. They didn't know that this man had it in him to do this. I mean, look at this guy. His eyes are practically bulging out of his head. You know, their mouths are hanging open. They can't believe their eyes. You know, that guy even lowers his gun slightly. He can't believe what he's seeing. The throwback of the head, you know, it really shows that the president is so engaged with this music, this art that he's creating on the spot here. You know, it's affecting him emotionally that he just has to throw back his head as he's just overcome with ecstasy of the moment. Look, even the Secret Service agents can't help but bop along to this tune. And, you know, they might be containing it slightly, but, you know, they're grooving on the inside. Whoa. Did you see that? I mean, you just can't write this stuff. You just can't. So excellent little just like boom, 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 boom. The quick changing of those shots is really effective, and it goes right along with the music. So right here, yeah, and then the final pose. Oh, you know, it gives me chills watching this. And you know, he's panting. It's obviously, you know, this was a very taxing thing for him to do, but he still did it. And once again, we get these 2 helicopters behind him. The framing of this shot just really paints him as such a noble figure. Notice how even his glasses have slid down on his nose a little bit to reveal his eyes, which, you know, makes us see him in a much more honest light. He's being very earnest here with these aliens. Also, if you listen carefully here, you'll hear a dog barking faintly in the distance there. And I've pondered what that moment means for the longest time. I haven't really been able to figure it out. But I have a few theories. One is that there's a dog nearby in this scene. Another is that perhaps the dog represents God. And I'm not a very religious person, I'll be the first to admit. However, I think that the president here truly believes in a God. You can just see it from the way he commits to that that crazy frog. I mean, he is a holy man. You can tell. He is connected there to something very spiritual. And I don't think it is much of a stretch to assume that this man goes to church every Sunday. And I think that the dog barking in the distance there, it's very evocative also, just that faint barking in the distance of a sort of sense of loneliness and exposure. You know, they're out here, he's just completely exposed. He doesn't know what's going to happen now. None of us do. Again, the tension is just palpable. The way it zooms in on his face here, you can see in his eyes this sort of, the fear creeping in. He slowly lowers his hands. Oof. The way that the eye suddenly closes just so fast. They all gasp. He puts his glasses back on. What does that tell us? It tells us that the president is preparing for battle, right? He took his glasses down, or he let them slide down his face when he opened his heart to the aliens. And now he has to put them back on because he can sense that a battle is approaching. But what's this? The light. The framing of this shot, once again, the silhouette of the president against that light. Very evocative stuff. And then the symbol of the hand reaching out. We get the Close Encounters music again in the background. And they're about to touch. You know, this guy takes off his glasses again. They all can't believe their eyes. Such a powerful moment. Oh, I have to pause it there because that shot is just gorgeous. I mean, sorry, wow. It's powerful stuff. It's powerful stuff. But then, oh, just the way, I mean, the emotional roller coaster here is incredible. We're really led to believe that the aliens are outstretching their hands in a gesture of friendship, and then the way it's, the juxtaposition where it suddenly just smashes the podium, almost killing the president. I mean, the sense of betrayal, it just really makes your heart just collapse into your belly. Once again, this angle painting him as a small, puny ant in comparison, and all of these tanks behind him looking like dinky cars compared to the giant hand of the alien spaceship. And here we go. They're bringing out the big guns. The imagery of the claw. Once again reinforcing the idea that all of these army soldiers are just toys. It's also, I don't think it was a coincidence that the spaceship somewhat resembles an egg, because it kind of makes you think of a giant baby. And, you know, these are all his toys that he can play with, or she, pardon me. It also does kind of look a bit like one of those old-fashioned timers that you use in the kitchen, which I suppose could mean that the humans are running out of time. You know, there's just so much attention to detail in this one scene. It really shows how much thought and effort went into this movie. So the president must run back down the stairs. Almost dies. Oh! The way they catch him there is a direct reference to the shot from earlier in the scene when he emerges, because we have the same sense of symmetry. You got the president dead center and all of the Secret Service agents around him. Although the difference is that in this scene, in this shot, he is much more cocky and confident. He's, you know, ready to go. He's putting on a brave face, whereas in this scene, he's almost died. And, you know, this film came out at the height of 3D. I wish I could go back and see it again in 3D, because, I mean, this shot right here would have been amazing to watch in 3D.
Commander,
But anyway, the comparison between those two shots just really shows you the character journey that the president has gone on, because he went from being a man who was on top of his game to a man, essentially a dead man. And listen to what he says here. This line has stayed with me ever since I first heard it in the theater.
Commander, do something violent.
Commander, do something violent. You just cannot write this stuff.
You heard the president. Light him up.
They all start firing away, their missiles. I'm just gonna let the rest of this bit play because,
Out here, call in air support. Call in air support.
another little pop culture reference there. E.T. Go Home. I mean, this film is full of them. So many little Easter eggs. So much attention to detail. This shot is another one that I might put up in my bedroom. I mean, whoever was in charge of the color palette of this film deserved an Academy Award. Honestly, I don't even get me started because this film was so badly snubbed that year. So, I want you to take a look at this next moment here.
Call in a full retreat.
Did you notice how his voice cracked there?
Call in a full retreat.
Full retreat!
So, what does that tell us about this sergeant character? I mean, he clearly is the kind of man who uses his voice, his deep, gravelly voice, to intimidate others and present himself as a man of stature and status. And, status is really the main theme here. It all ties together. But that one little voice crack, it shows us that he, too, is human. He's vulnerable, just like the rest of them. And the fact that he can't contain that in this moment shows us the gravity of the situation.
Full retreat.
Full retreat! Full retreat! All troops!
Wheels up, Papa Bear's on the move. Wait.
So look at this, the president still has one last trick in his sleeve.
Eat lead, alien robot.
Evidently they eat lead.
Get him on the chopper!
I'm brave. I'm a brave president.
I'm a brave president. You are a brave president, sir. So there you have it. A scene that is absolutely just chock full of brilliant imagery and expert cinematography. But what really makes this scene stand out is the way it ties together the themes of status with the human condition, and how, as humans, we communicate primarily through art. In a scene where a man must make first contact with a being from another world, he doesn't choose to speak. He chooses to play the piano. He plays Crazy Frog. Because when language isn't enough, music will speak volumes. Of course, the alien does not accept his offering and ultimately tries to destroy him and the entire human race, but that is actually a comment on the futility of it all. So it actually has a very dark message, a hopeful message, but a dark one, ultimately. I think that speaks to the time that it came out. 2009 was a decade ago. I mean, we didn't have AirPods. The Emoji Movie hadn't even come out yet. Like, can you imagine? Some people were still using flip phones. I hope that I've been able to shed a little bit of light on this absolute masterpiece. And check out Monsters vs. Aliens on Netflix. My hope is that if we all band together and really demand for it, that maybe, just maybe, DreamWorks will make a sequel to this timeless classic. Thank you for watching. Have a wonderful day.